Hello, namaskar. It's me, Mr. Gear. I'm up at the East Bank here. It's around 20 to 2. That's PM, and it's Monday, 26th of June 2023. I gonna talk something about coexistence, if you don't mind. It's something that is very realistic, very experiential situation. Everybody longs to have a good brother, a good sister, a good mother, a good father. I remember as a little kids growing up, I heard about the story of stepmothers and stepfathers, and what they do to stepchildren, and how these children grow up sad, pain, ulcerative, and sometimes recluse from society, sometimes temperamental. They express outbursts, violence, and so on. So what happens is that a child is shaped by his inner circle, his family. If he grows up with abuse and insult, it affects his mind, affects his balance, his nature, his disposition, his personality, and so on. If he grows in a good and loving environment, if his parents are doctors or nurses or teachers, and they're very nice and balanced people, and since he may grow up full, he can be happy among his peers, among the medical people, the doctors and nurses, his workplace. He's a favorite, always laughing and cheerfully grow up with very good, his mind is very clear and sharp, and he will perform well at his school and so on. So what happened is that he has also to face a wider circle around him, which means the people that form his community, his environs, his habitat, and so on. Now, most people would like an environment that is peaceful, that is agreeable. People are simple, they're jovial, they know if to talk to you, any least thing they run you over, everything alright, everything okay, they can rub each other's back. If you cook, you invite them over to lunch, dinner, and so on. Well, this is not always the case. For example, when I was in Best Hospital, when I was living on the West Coast in Best Road, we spent 1 year there in Tamrandam. That's just next to the Hindu temple in Mr. Dean's house. And the people were like that. The children would come over afternoon. I come from school, we would play downstairs. All the boys and me, we play downstairs. And I excel all of them. I remember we had this ball, we would bounce it. A huge ball, wind ball, and we'd bounce it to see who would bounce the longest. And we would, and I would be bouncing along with the most stamina. I remember everybody was surprised to see me playing. And they would take you out. We would go to the walk at the back dams in the crab bush to swim in the trench behind the plum tree. The big plum tree in Dean's Yard, there was a trench, we'd go to swim there. And it was like that over there, over the river. And then Gamandi grandson, who was then Vishnu, he would invite us. So he told me, climb the tree, pick how much cherries you want. So I would go and eat up all the cherries and eat, and they were very nice. They tell when they had a wedding, and so we went over there. But we only spent 1 year there in West Hospital. It was very nice, I remember when the jamun trees would be bearing. We would pick the jamun and put them in bottles to form wine and push them at the roots of the trees on the train line there around by Dean House. And then me, Anil, Andy, Ravi, the other boys would go to check on it. After a while, it would be fermented into wine and for us to drink. But it was childhood, you know, childhood stuff that people have to pass through, you know, this kind of also frivolity and innocence and freedom. We all went through that. So not everybody is blessed to have like a happy idyllic childhood, you know. Sometimes punctuated by the ugly also, because in your commune, in your community, there might be bad elements, bad apples, and these people are just waiting to see when you're alone, when they could serve their bad menus and recipes to you. So not everybody is blessed to have good neighbors where they can be agreeable, exchange of emotions and cordiality and so on, right? But in our differences might lie a common ground, that we're all human beings, we have shortcomings and imperfections. But it is expected that people who are like from good families, educated families, that they may show different characteristics, different tendencies, depend on the training that the parents give them, who in turn receive their training from teachers and people from the educational department, people from the church, people from the community, their culture and all these things. Like my mother, she was a Lutheran, she grew up with the Christians. She has books at home that were signed actually by English people, English missionaries who were visiting here. My father, he also had his own experiences, his own people that he searched out and learned from. And so these people, they develop certain qualities and sensitivities that make them refrain and repulse to certain people, certain behaviors, certain camaraderie, certain joviality. They would not participate and partake. And this kind of like genetically modify people, modify individuals. So we say genetical engineering can be done by the educational system, it can be done by a religion, it can be done by a community. And the damage and the transformation that it causes in people is passed down to generations to come. For example, if you have some quirk of character, somebody might tell you, I remember you had a grandfather or uncle who was a little bit loose, he had a loose knot in his head or a loose screw in his head. That's why you're like that, you know. So it's good that if you can maintain human standards, divine standards according to the holy people. And I've been in contact with a lot of people from Christian, from Islamic, from Hindus background, and they say if the company is bad, refrain from it. If you feel not happy, refrain. I remember one monk in the Philippines was telling me in Brazil, he said, go where you feel happy. If somewhere don't make you comfortable, don't go. If somebody don't make you happy, peaceful and free and relaxed, don't go there. Avoid them. So you would avoid them until things change or things get better, you know. I remember one daughter from Africa was telling me, he said, when the clashes and the tension and the pressure gets so much that you can't bear it anymore, you know, you can just skip out of the picture. Or when things get a little mellow and tender, you can come back, you can return. And so, you know, sometimes that's just, you know, you can't always handle situations. There are remember, we're humans, and there are situations that will break us or make us. Sometimes it's beyond our capacity. Sometimes we're not trained or equipped to handle it. You know, as young people growing up, you train for certain tasks, for certain situations, for certain jobs, for certain occupations. And if you are not trained to deal with people, a certain class of people, or deal with certain behaviors and moods, you know, it's better you don't blend or integrate with such circumstances, no? So I remember one dad was telling me, he said, God will push you at the edge, but then he won't throw you off. He will push and give you tests and trials that you can handle only what you will be able to cope or handle with. But then one day, after a while, he see that I was doing my meditation regular and I was taking care and handling all the tests and challenges easily. So what he did was tell me, he said, God sometimes give you so much and you can't bear it, he push you off the cliff. And when you fall off the cliff, he will be there to catch you. I breathed in relief. I said, at least he'll be there to catch you, you know. You will lose your ground and lose hope. And you just think everything's done, finished. But then there's something at the end. For example, when you're dead, you're not finished, you don't disappear in the 5 elements. Hindus believe this transmigration of the spirit, the soul takes another body. There's afterlife, there's different planes and dimensions in the astral that you go to, and you will become more fruitful. You meet other beings, other people in the spirit body. You know, they said that before we having or taken a human body, we were all spirits before. And this can be proven by many of the psychics and these sensitives around the world. They can see spirit and they tell us that there are spirits all around us floating. People who die a natural death, they're still here, you can see them. But first, take the veil off your eyes, you know. Not all of us can see that. Nature prevents us from seeing that until we develop, you know, the mind, the layers of the mind develop, and we can see things that ordinary people can't see, you know. And this seeing into the astral plane, you know, is a very remarkable phenomenon. And they say Yogananda had this power, Sivananda, or I think Vivekananda, many of the saints and highly developed people, they see spirits and they talk to spirits and all these things. I had a grandfather who was dabbling with the occult, the tantra, and so he would go out in the afternoon to walk in certain lonely places. And another relative told me that they would see him talking to people, but they can't see the people. So they said that he had the ability to talk with spirits and see spirits. And he would give us a lot of advice, like where to go, where not to go, where to, which friend to make friend with, who not to be friend, and so on. So it is that some people, they are gifted, they are blessed, while others are just at the average level, and we are in the process of unfolding, growing, and developing, and so on. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is that sometimes you try to meet out and reach out to people, but people don't feel comfortable with your coarseness or with your samskaras, your personality, so they kind of recline, they kind of, you know, refrain, they have their own human disdain, disconcertment that they exhibit. When you, you know, like the amoeba, when they test the amoeba, the protozoa, with different environment, the acidity, electric shocks, and so on, it will repulse and go away. So this is one of the characteristics of human being, irritability. You know, there are many characteristics that living things have, like eating, sleeping, procreating, irritability, and these kind of things will, all living creatures, especially developed animals, they have irritability. They tend to refrain or disdain situations that they don't feel comfortable with, that cause them to feel uncomfortable, disharmonious, and cause them to feel depressed and sad. They refrain from that. But when they can handle situations, and when they can be in command, when they can control, when they can feel free and calm, there's a good effect on their body and spirit and mind. They might indulge, they might partake, and so on. So with this in view, I hope that we all can have an ideal environment in the future where people can be able to help each other, grow together, they create betterment for the environment, they come together. I was thinking, like for example, there are 2 empty lots near to me, 2 empty lands. I said if I was a millionaire and I had money, I would have bought those 2 land next to me there. I would have put fences around, I would have put a fountain, that is sporting water, I would have planted some nice trees all around, put some benches, a part is marble off, nice tile and so on. I would make it a park for the neighborhood. People who want to walk in there, sit down, read the newspaper, come in with the babies, walk around. You have nice flowers, nice trees, fountain, a sporting water. You have beautiful like that, you know. They can come and you have a caretaker watchman there, so they come, they walk around and they go out back. That would be a nice environmental issue. Or maybe I was thinking, I have so many books now. I bought these books actually to open the library to help children, but people tell me that people will come in your place and steal your books. They will tear out the pages and so on. I was thinking I would open downstairs into like a community library. One of my uncle, daughter, son will come in the afternoon, volunteer hour, 2 hour, sit down at the table, and those who want to come in to read my books that I bought for inspiration and so on, they're free. Because I remember I was a child, young man growing up, I heard stories with young boys who would go to study at other people's places just because of the availability of the literature. We had an internet then and computer. They would borrow books, sit under the lantern because the library only lent them for 24 hours or 40 hours.